I think the pandemic and the Black Lives Matter movement are largely a great representation of the framework I try and teach students to look at the world. How do citizens try and hold their governments accountable? And we're talking about the First Amendment here, and the rights included in the First Amendment, which are also codified in international human rights law, are really rights that help citizens keep governments accountable. One of the things that I teach my students is whenever we see protests asking governments to change their policies, change the way they behave, one of the most common responses is for governments to use violence against protesters. And we're seeing that right now. The state has been using violence against journalists, which is pretty rare in democracies, right? We have over 200 documented cases of police beating, tear gassing, shooting rubber bullets at journalists who have clearly identified credentials, and it's provoked an international outcry. I teach a course on human rights. Can we explain why governments treat their citizens well in some instances and poorly in others? When do governments use violence against protesters, for example? So a lot of the course focuses on the battle between citizens and governments over policy and rights. One of the best ways to stop violent protests and riots is to ensure justice, so high social welfare spending, investment in communities, and giving citizens input into government policy. One of the important parts that the First Amendment advocates can promote is this idea of education. And I think education reform in terms of a more accurate history could go a long way to improving tensions, maybe not now, but for the next generation.